Are joined here today by a fellow mentor of the Tech Careers Program, Rachel, and she is going to be talking to us a little bit today about how to implement AI in actual work teams. Um, you have, I'm assuming you have your slides and some of the stuff to share.
I do. I have some slides, but since I haven't done this, how do I share? Is it in the button?
You see here on the bottom at the panel, it has
Oh
chat
yeah, I see the
and yeah,
share.
share. And all
Okay.
you got to do is just hit the share.
Pick my, oh, it's kind of like, all right.
There you
You see
go.
it?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right, we don't need to go there.
And
All
then
right.
everybody can
Oops.
ask questions if they would like.
Oh, I am.
Um, and then whenever you're ready to go ahead and get started, Rachel, the floor is yours.
All right, let me need to go way back here. Okay. One of the things I'm going to go over today is how to build a retrospective. A retrospective is one of the ceremonies at the end of a Scrum sprint where the team will look at how the sprint went and they'll talk about what went well, what didn't go well. And then one of the intentions of a retrospective is to have one item that the team agrees on to add into the next sprint that is a work process improvement. So that's one of the things. But, you know, I want to start with something that's probably familiar for anybody who's been in a sprint. Your team finishes your sprint, you move on to the retrospective. Somebody shares what went well, somebody shares what didn't. There's a conversation, people nod, a few items go on the board. They write down action items, and then the sprint ends. And the next sprint, you're running the same retrospective, same themes, maybe different wording, structurally the same thing. And the action items from the last sprint you had, most people forgot about them. They didn't get added to Jira. Nobody addressed them. It isn't because the team doesn't care. It's because not because the facilitation was bad. It's because often there's no system for what happens after that conversation. So that conversation is tracked, but then after that, it kind of falls off. So most of the teams don't have, a feedback problem. They get plenty of feedback. They just have a decision problem with what to do after they receive that feedback. That's what we're going to build today is something that's clear, measurable, tracked commitments at the end of a sprint. Um, Before we start building, let me say this is not a Lovable tutorial. I'm not an expert in Lovable. It's the tool we're going to use. But actually, the platform itself is not the point. Um, and it's not even that it's a retrospective. It's basically how to design a multi-pass AI decision system. The retrospective is the domain I'm going to use, but this methodology is transferable to any sort of team and team decision process that you have. So if you want to follow along with me, you can for this. I will afterwards send out slides and the prompts to everyone. Um, and you can use the same structure for anything. So I will send that out to any of the participants. Um, Rich, you can help me with that after. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going to help you build this system in 5 passes. And this is why that matters. Because if you give an AI system one large prompt, help me build a retrospective decision tool, you give it a little detail, what you end up getting is very shallow. The system will try to handle the layout, the logic, the reasoning, everything, the rendering all at once, and it gets overloaded. And so each separate concern ends up getting less focus. So the output is not consistent and it's structurally weak. And if you separate any of your builds in Lovable into multi-pass builds, and this goes for anything, whether it's Lovable or Replit or anything else, that kind of separates those concerns so that each section gets handled in more depth. All right. So I have it set up so, and you can see here on the slide, pass one handles the structure. There's no logic. It's just the decision flow. It's the screens you're going to see and how they're going to flow, from screen to screen. And then pass two, I have it labeled as signal. That in this case, that is parsing the data, which is all the feedback for you know, the um, the retrospective feedback. Um, it's going to cluster the feedback into affinity clustering, and it's going to reduce bias. Pass three is going to handle reasoning. So it's going to pull out root causes, actions, trade-offs you might have, things like that. Pass four is going to help you to handle the decision. It's going to be the audit trail. It's going to be a list of decisions you can choose from at the end of the sprint. And then pass five is, the scoring, the memory, the report at the end of it. It's the tracking ability. So we have five separate passes, to this app. Oh, I think I already went over this, why the retrospectives fail because you don't kind of you forget all the action items. I should have gone through this. Yes. Single pass problems. I covered that. Multi-pass. Sorry, I wasn't going through the slides. So some of the things that in this, the pass four, the the pass two, which is the signal, the retrospective signal, the pass two, it handles some of the bias issues. So it prevents whoever is the loudest voice or the last person to be very outspoken in the retrospective. It prevents them from having all of their issues, the ones that are dominating, prevents groupthink because you're actually using affinity clustering to pull out the data. It will force you to choose specific actions instead of vague actions. So that makes it like improve. I have it here as an example, improve communication. That's very, very vague. It's not something that you can act on specifically. Recency bias. So the things that got talked about in the very last sprint are the ones that are going to be a top of the mind of most people. And so those are the ones that you're going to want to address. But what happens if, the past six sprints, maybe the first four of them are dealing with the same issues that you're having as a team, and then maybe the last one is something totally different, but because there's a bias towards the most recent sprint information, it's probably not the choice you want to go with, but it kind of prevents that. Prevents overcommitment because you might have a list of like eight things you want to address, but really you can only do one at a time and missing the root cause. So those are a few things. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap to Lovable. I'm going to send this out to everyone after. It's just a very short slide deck. But okay, I'm going to swap over to Lovable here, not Zoom. Let's see. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the first pass. And the first pass is going to be about structure only. So what we're going to do here is just kind of determine what screens are going to exist. There's no logic, no data processing, no reasoning, just the skeleton. And this matters because it's just a structure to encode, the theory of how our decisions are going to be made. Um, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to use, hopefully, if I can here. Um, can you see this, or do I have to swap what I'm sharing?
I'm seeing like kind of like a little diagonal shot right here. Uh, I'm seeing something like what are you guys seeing right now?
Let me check
Okay,
because I'm not.
go like two clicks before.
Yeah,
Like
can you see the screen or no?
no.
You
I actually
can't.
never seen a computer monitor like this. Uh, so
All right. Let me change the share settings. Maybe that's what I have to do. No. All right. Let me swap to this. Maybe that will. Can you see it now?
yeah, I can see it
Okay.
perfectly now.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm actually going to use an audio input. Hopefully this will work okay, dictation. So I'm going to use um, the whisper flow. All right. So I want to build an app called Sprint Retrospective Decision System. Let me see if this work is working okay. Nope. Nope. Let me put it here. I want to build an app called Sprint Retrospective Decision Systems. Make sure this is, yes, perfect. All right. Bear with me, guys. This is my very first time doing any sort of presentation,
You're
so
doing freaking great.
so I'm
Can
nervous
we
and
get
I
some words of
little
encouragement in the comments, please? She's doing great, right? Come on.
I'm
It's not
trying.
easy. It's not easy.
All right. This shouldn't be a simple dashboard. It should guide someone step by step through a structured decision workflow. I want to start by creating a dashboard with a clear header, a button to start a new retrospective, a section for past reports, and a space to show the most recent Kaizen action. Then I want to create an input screen where I can paste retrospective feedback, one item per line, include a small instruction panel explaining how to format the input. Next, create a clustering screen with a summary bar at the top and a main area for cluster cards. Add a sidebar that can show unclustered items and explain how clustering works. Then create an action screen where each cluster will eventually display a primary action and at least two alternative actions. Include a clearly labeled section where the user will select exactly one Kaizen action for the next sprint. Finally, create a report screen with sections for input summary, themes, root causes, actions, the selected Kaizen action, and risks or uncertainty. Also include an action tracker screen for storing decisions across sprints. Make sure navigation flows cleanly from input to clustering to actions to report to tracking, and use a strong visual hierarchy so the interface doesn't feel flat. Do not implement any logic yet. Focus only on structure and layout. Hopefully, it has gotten all of that. There we go. Oh, all right. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. This is going to be my first pass here. So while this is building, I'm going to tell you what we're going to end up doing in pass two after this. I need to go from, once we have the structure for the whole system, all the screens we're going to use, then we're going to take, uh, we need to go from raw retroactive input to a usable signal. So the problem with retrospective data is that it's sometimes noisy. It's got a lot of stuff in there. Things are phrased differently. There's overlap in meaning. So that's why we want to use AI to help us cluster those together. It also screens out the different levels of emotional intensity people might have coded into the wording and how they describe things. If you feed raw text into a reasoning system, you'll get inconsistent output. So you need to do like a pass where it groups things that are alike together first. It's going to structure each item independently. It should assign an ID Like if I have built this, every time it builds based on the prompt, sometimes it does things slightly different. But I did do this build before. It should assign everything an ID. And then it clusters after every item has already been individually parsed. It forces the system to, consider all of the items before naming even a single theme. So it will make sure it parses all of them before it affinity clusters them. Um, if you contrast this with normal retrospective work, someone will read a few items, they'll name a pattern, and then the whole conversation just anchors to that pattern, even if it's not maybe the most important one. So that sometimes will happen, especially if you have someone doing it that's the loudest voice in the room. Um, so if you structure things before you interpret it, it helps to prevent, that bias. So I'm going to go ahead and see where we are here. Still building. While it's building, I can take questions. It's taking longer than it should, but does anybody have questions so far? No.
Two people says you're doing great.
Oh, trying.
Okay.
AI is wonderful. It's a great tool. It doesn't take away the need for good judgment. In fact, it becomes more important. So that's one of the things I see is that you can build a lot of things, but what you really need to do is incorporate, the correct way to make or build decision making into that. Sometimes with a human involved, sometimes not, depending on, how important those decisions are. If they're high value decisions, obviously you don't want the AI to run away with them. But let me see
Or do
here.
you?
Or do you? Maybe sometimes, right? Uh,
Just
I'm
let it
so used
go.
to, I am so used to building on my phone, Rich. This looks bizarre to see it in a
Wow.
browser.
Talk about Gen Z, huh?
Yeah, I
I
know.
have not built, I've seen it built on
Oh my
phones,
God. All right. Well,
but
so here
I've
I'm
not done it on phones
kind of.
myself because I can't voice, uh, I don't I
Oh,
prompt too much. So yeah.
yeah, I'm always on my phone. I'm always on the go. All
Oh.
right. So if you can see this, you can see, and it looks like it actually populated with some sample data, which is good. So you can see here we have, let me move my little icon over there. So on this build, you can see we have the main dashboard here, and then we should have a screen for the actions right here. And again, this has sample data already built into it. And then we have a screen for the clusters. And you can see this kind of pulled out cluster themes. Um, and also listed here for with the sample data, things that are unclustered. These are things that maybe they're separate, they don't fit into any cluster system by themselves, they're just one-offs. Um, and so right now, you understand we didn't have anything really to do with the data. We're just making sure we have all the screens we're going to need. So this is the input screen. This is where you'd copy and paste your feedback from the team. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Um, this is the report screen where you should be able to export a report. Eventually, at the end of a build, you'd probably want to export as a PDF, have it export as a PDF. But right now, it's just the button there and the tracker. This will allow you to track things and make sure you add them to your sprint, for example. Um, yeah. All right. So far, so good. And I'm going to want to go over here now, and we're going to kind of work with the next pass here. So All right, let's see. All right. So the next thing I want to do is I want to take the input and I want to structure it. I want to cluster it in a way that's stable and reliable. First, split the input so that each line becomes its own feedback item. Keep the text written exactly as it is and assign each of the items its own unique ID. Then cluster the feedback into a small number of groups. Limit the total number of clusters to between 3 and 5. Do not create more than 5 clusters. For each cluster, provide a clear and specific label, a short description of the core signal that connects the items, the list of supporting feedback items, and a brief explanation of why those items belong together. Keep the explanations concise. Do not force every item into a cluster. If there are any items that do not clearly fit, then they should be placed into an unclustered category. Make sure the clustering completes quickly and does not attempt to generate long or complex explanations. In the UI, display the raw input, the structured items, and the clusters as expandable cards. Each cluster card should clearly show its label, supporting items, and short reasoning. Ensure the clusters are actually rendered in the interface and not just described. Let's hope they grabbed all that. Yes. All right. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to now do the second pass. Now, I specifically built this as a 5 pass build, and that's for all of you, free lovable users. You get 5 daily credits for free. So after the session, I will actually send you these prompts that I used in case you're not, able to follow along here in the session. And you can build your very own feedback tracker for retrospectives. And you can do that for free in one day with the 5 passes. I mean, you might have some spillover to the next day if there's some errors or anything, but it should be a 5 pass build. The larger and the more complex your builds are, the more passes you need to have because you cannot put too much in one pass. It's going to leave out a lot of things. It's not going to connect elements properly, things like that. It's going to miss things. So you do need to plan them out before you do a build. I find it's really, really helpful to go ahead and plan things out before you build them in Lovable. It helps you to be more efficient with credits, and it also helps to make sure you don't miss things. A lot of my builds are, 12, 18 passes actually. Um, and that's typically where I go with my builds. They're typically between 12 and 18 passes. So this is missing a lot of things. For example, if I was doing this for myself, I probably would want to put something in it that once I choose a Kaizen, which is that one item that I want to add to the next sprint that focuses on the team process improvement, I would want to have some sort of tool here that automatically adds that to Jira for the next sprint, to include it in the next sprint. So, so little things like that, that aren't in a, 5 pass build like this. All right. So, so we're doing pass 2 still. It takes a little time here. If we do run out of time, I will certainly follow up with giving you guys the rest of the passes for this 5 pass build. But at least you kind of understand how it works. And like I said, you can use the same system for any type of input. You can use this for, any team workflows that you have. I just thought it was a very common one to have in a retrospective that's used in a lot of companies with their Scrum processes. So that's why I selected that, but you could use it pretty much for anything. So. Also, it doesn't build very pretty, but I kind of, oh goodness. Um, well, that's not nice. It's showing me that I have an error and Lovable, sometimes this happens and you can try to fix it, automatically, which I typically do, although it's not seeming to let me do that here. Um, or maybe it's actually it seems to be fine. I don't know. Let me refresh this. I'm going to go ahead to the main page here and see. It seems to be fine. It's probably flagged some sort of error because it wasn't loading or something like that. But so this pass seems to be have functioned fine. And I'm going to go ahead, click here on the clustering because that's really the one we were working with. Um, oh, I don't have any input for there. Um, yeah. You know what I'm going to do just so it should have built automatically some I did not automatically build in there, sadly, some sprint retrospective. Um, I actually had some and I totally forgot to include it. So I'm just quickly gonna get list 20 items sprint. I'm just swapping to another program real quick. Um,
Your monitor is looking weird again. Like I'm getting that like slant angle. I don't know if anybody
is
else is
it
seeing this.
really? I don't know. My kids bought me this brand new computer, and I've had it for 1 week because my other computer bit the dust. They're great. My kids are great, but I was using a
Yeah, right.
PC all the time.
Yeah,
And
it seems yeah. Yeah, it seems like the monitor is slanted.
is it okay now?
Yeah, now it's great. Now it's great.
Yeah, so not only am I using Zoom that I've never used before, but also a brand new computer that I swept from PC to Mac. So there's a little bit of things that are a little different here, but mostly the same. Anyways, I have some a sample feedback. I have probably 20 items. Oops, I don't know why that didn't work. It's going to give that weird thing again. All right, so I have a sample of some items that would be clustered. And if I continue clustering, it should it should function now a little bit. Yeah, so you can see already, I didn't run the clustering yet, but you can see it did pull out each one of these items and it gave it a number like it's supposed to. So I know that this is functioning like it should. I do try to check a few things here and there while I'm doing a build so that I don't, you know, um, keep building too much without, with something not working properly. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to the third pass. And actually, this third pass is going to be the most valuable part of the system. The clusters themselves are useful. They reduce noise and they kind of surface patterns, but they actually don't solve the problems that you're going to have. So, the problems, in order to solve the problems, you have to know why it's happening. For example, like what the root causes are, not the actual symptoms. What can you do specifically? So concrete actions, not just improve communication. That's too vague. You might want to know, actually, it's important to know the trade-offs of the actions because every intervention has its costs, some positive, some negative, but they're all going to have a downside and a positive side. And also, how confident you are in the action resolving something because not all evidence is equally as strong. So you might have a couple of different items that you might want to work on for a next sprint as the Kaizen for improvement. But if you have one that has very, very solid evidence behind it, you're probably going to choose that one over one that, you have much less evidence for. So this pass three is going to do what it's going to do is for each cluster, it's going to identify a root cause. It's going to suggest a primary action and two alternatives. That way you have choices. You don't want to just limit it to one. You always want to have choices. For each action, it's going to give a measurable expected outcome. It's going to list some trade-offs. It's going to list some failure conditions as well. And it's also going to give you confidence, impact, and effort ratings. Because obviously, if there's something that you could do that has a high impact but a very low amount of effort, that's going to be the best sell to your team first, right? So this is it's like a decision package. It's not like a list of ideas. It's like you want this to force people to make a decision and act on it. So that's what we're really trying to do here. If you only generate that one action, you just have a guess that hasn't been tested against any alternative. So you definitely want to have, more than one option available. So we're going to start this pass three here. Um, so I have actually, all right, so let's go here to I'm using WhisperFlow, by the way.
Is there like while you're doing that, is there a reason why you like did you get a chance to try GenSpark? But I wanted to hear like did you like one over the other more?
Speakly,
Yeah.
Denmark Speakly.
Yeah.
I liked both of them, but WhisperFlow is like you really can whisper and it's great. It picks up things so great. I'm telling you, man, because I have a small apartment and I have two very loud children who still live at home. And so a lot of times I prefer to go and work from the local Starbucks. It's like a mile down the road and it's so nice there and relaxing and away from my children who are playing video games and and yelling at the video games. Uh, I can't. I feel awkward talking in like a public place like that. So the WhisperSoft is great because I can actually whisper into it and it can pick up everything that I say. So I find it's better for that. So that's why I am using it. But
I need to give Whisper another shot.
yeah,
Uh, uh,
but the cost is annoying. All right.
yeah.
Yeah. But it's something I'm willing to do if I have to. But so far I've been okay with just the free one. Now I want to take each cluster and turn it into something actionable, but I want to do it in a way that stays fast and reliable. Start by generating a concise root cause for each cluster. Keep each one short, just one or two sentences, and include a simple confidence level. Don't generate long explanations. Then move into action generation, but do this in a controlled way so the system doesn't try to do too much at once. Fully expand only up to two clusters. For those clusters, generate exactly one primary action and two alternative actions. For each of those actions, I want you to include a short, clear explanation of what to do, a measurable expected outcome in one sentence, a couple of trade-offs, a couple of failure conditions, a brief reference to which feedback items support it, a simple confidence level, an impact level, and an effort level. Keep everything concise and practical so generation completes quickly. For any remaining clusters, generate only a primary action with a short description and a measurable outcome. Do not generate alternatives for those clusters. Make sure all actions are actually stored and displayed on the action screen as visible cards grouped by cluster. Each cluster should clearly show its primary action and, where applicable, its alternatives. Do not leave the action screen empty or only described. You must render a populated action card. Also, make sure any computed values or derived data are defined before conditional rendering so the component behaves consistently. Make sure we picked that up. Yes, we did. We don't want to do that right now. All right. So again, so that's just the third pass. And like I said, this is the most important pass because it takes those clusters and it kind of helps us to see what are our options for dealing with these issues that our team has determined are issues for the team and how they work together. So we're going to do that. After this, basically the 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 past four and the past five are less important. That's mostly just choosing what action you're going to decide to add to the next sprint. And it generates a report and it allows you to sort of focus on what action you're going to actually focus the team on. So that helps. These passes should go faster. I think one and two are the longest, especially one when it's building out everything are the longest ones. But so far so good. It's not giving me a lot of errors or anything like that. So we're doing good. Um, Rich, are there any questions or anything right now in
I
chat?
see, actually. Give me a second. What prompted you to build this, and what is your target audience? The second question is, what source is Lovable extracting the sample data from to populate the retrospective? So let me actually call on Andy for asking the first question here.
Hi, Andy.
What prompted you, Andy? What city are you calling in from?
Hey, I'm calling in from San Francisco.
Is that still a functioning city? I heard it hasn't been since 2016.
I would argue it's since 2018, but we're always coming back.
Hey, I'm gonna be out there in San Francisco, I think in July.
Oh,
My
we should
my
meet
son lives
up
out there.
then. Definitely would love to meet up.
Yeah, yeah, that would be great. Yeah. My son lives in Castro Valley.
Oh,
So
Okay, I'm in
sorry to hear
Selma.
that.
yeah. What was that? Oh no, Rich, you know the area, huh?
You know the area. I was
Yeah.
there before.
Oh, well,
Uh,
rent is so expensive out there, so yeah. All
gosh.
right. So what was the question, Andy?
What prompted you to build this, and who is your target audience, Rachel?
Oh, well, actually, why I wanted to build this specifically was because before becoming interested in being a product manager, I was interested in working as a Scrum Master, but there aren't a whole lot of Scrum Master positions out there compared to, a product managers. Plus, it was kind of, limiting to me. Um, so I wanted to expand my horizons a bit, doing something else. But that being said, that's an interest of mine. I really love Scrum. I love the philosophy behind it. I love the whole idea of a Kaizen of, the continuous improvement, never being done, just continually small improvements over and over. I really love the idea of that. And I know that people really struggle with retrospectives. And so I actually did two. I have two friends. I don't know if they're on, but so actually this weekend I helped build for them or with them. We did a product backlog grooming app. So we worked on that because one of my colleagues and friends is a product owner. So I was kind of helping, set up that. And then we're doing this. So yeah, so that's why I chose to do it. I just enjoy anything that has to do with making small improvements over and over. So
Got it. No, thank you.
yeah. All right. I think is this done? Oh, it's actually done. So I can actually continue on before our next question, if that's okay, Rich.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go.
yeah. So we can get this done and all right. So I'm going to move on to pass four here. Um, Now I want to add decision control, and I want to make the system enforce a real choice. Require the user to select exactly one Kaizen action for the next sprint. The user should be able to choose from either the primary action or one of the alternatives. Do not allow the report to be generated unless one action has been selected. Add controls so the user can edit actions, delete them, add a new custom action, and promote an alternative to become the primary action. Then create an audit trail for the selected Kaizen action. It should clearly show the original feedback items, the cluster it came from, the root cause explanation, and the reasoning behind the action. Add an expandable section such as why this action, so the reasoning chain is visible to the user. Make sure the selected Kaizen action is clearly highlighted and all content remains editable. So one of the reasons I want to make sure everything is editable here, that's like a tongue twister here for me,
I
um,
was gonna say.
um, is because you want to make sure that the team, retains their own judgment. You don't want to just take what this program spits out at you. It might give you some ideas for actions to take, but the team might want to modify them a little bit, maybe make them simpler, and maybe it gives other ideas that the team might have of a better way to address the issues that the AI did not come up with. So you definitely want to make sure that you keep this section able to be edited so that you're not just accepting what the AI gives you. And I guess while this is going, do you want to do another question, Rich?
Yeah. We had another question actually from Elaine. I feel like I know Elaine for a long time. What source is Lovable extracting the sample data from to populate the retrospect? That's actually a very good question.
Yeah, I actually just have generated my own sample. I have a sample raw input that I have generated for it to use. You can, if you can actually do that, you can generate, sample retrospective input, in ChatGPT or something like that. You can, like I gave it 20 items to do for me. You can also ask for it here in the chat, although it's going to cost you credits to do it, but you can have it, you can just request, please populate this with sample data. And Lovable is excellent with populating things with sample data for you. It does a really good job, actually. So you can do that anyway, but that just helps you so that you don't focus on the content. I mean, you don't focus on the data while you're trying to do the build. You just need something there that you can check and make sure everything's functioning, obviously, because you're going to have your own data. I hope that answers the question. Anything else? No?
Wait a
Okay.
second. I think we have a question right here in the chat. Got it. On If you're used to using your phone, have you vibe coded with Lovable on mobile? I don't
Oh,
think
all the time. I use it all the time. I actually have two phones. I have a Galaxy
small.
Fold. I have a Galaxy Fold 7
Uh-huh.
with one phone number, and I have an iPhone with another phone number. And sometimes I have them both going, Replit on one, Lovable on the other, So, or Claude. Oh my God, Claude takes so long sometimes to give a response. So I'll have one doing Claude stuff and the other one doing Lovable stuff. I really like working on mobile because, like I said, I'm really on the go a lot and it's convenient. So I like that they have an app.
You're making me look dinosauric right now because I've actually never done it on the phone.
Really?
But I mean yeah, but it's crazy because I've hosted talks out here in like NYU and Columbia, and I just see the kids like they're just doing it on their phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I've never done it like on the phone before. I guess I should.
It's
Uh,
only because the laptop is it's big and
oh,
cumbersome, and
yeah,
it's just so
yeah,
much easier to
yeah,
just have a little small phone with you. Yeah.
yeah. The one of the Whisper Flow like brand ambassador influencers. I don't know how he just does it like with like the Oculus, like a VR
Oh,
set.
really?
Yeah, he's not even trying to use the phone screen. And that's the next going to be the next evolution is like of technology is this phone is going to look like a big bulky monitor before we had like flat screen monitors. It's just like because they're like you have to like get into the phone. Like we should just be fully interactive, right? So that's why Meta did the deal with Ray-Ban, and then Google did the deal with the Korean eyeglass brand called Gentle Monster. But even for OpenAI, OpenAI is having their first hardware piece, which they hired Joni Ives, who used to be the chief design officer at Apple. It's going to be kind of like a pendant that you're wearing around your neck. So the physical AI part is going to be like, I mean, I don't think we'll do away with phones for the next 10 years, but they, I mean, if they could, they would be freaking selling Instagram ads to us even in our dreams, right? Like, you
Rich,
know,
all I can think of when you're talking about this is, you know, that movie, I
what
think
Black
the
Mirror
Disney
episode?
movie Eve, where all of the people they can't walk anymore, they just have these screens in front of each other and they're on the ship. Do you remember that movie, the Disney movie? I think it's called Eve. No, Eve was the name of the character in it. What's that movie with the robot? And they
What?
I'll have to figure out
Elysia?
what it is.
Like, is it the one with Matt Damon?
Is it a Wally? Is that it? Wally? No, it's an animated movie. I'm gonna have to send
Animated.
you the clip after this, and when you see it, you're gonna laugh hysterically because that this is exactly where we're headed as a society.
Wally? Is it Wally?
Yeah, Wally. I think Wally. Yeah.
You want to pull up something about Wally while this thing is prompting up?
Oh, actually, it's done. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go ahead
Yeah.
and do the fifth one, and then maybe we can pull up Wally or something. I can show
Oh
you
my
the scene that
goodness.
I'm talking about.
I was a film minor. I usually crush it in like movie trivia, but like when it comes down to animation, not so much.
All
Wally.
right. So we're going to do the last pass, and this is going to kind of help us to be able to track whatever decisions we have made for improvements, for the team improvements over time, and to generate reports, and then kind of stay consistent. So, for example, if you try one of these actions in one sprint and the same issue is continuing to happen over and over, you're going to see that whatever you're doing is not working and you have to address it in a different way. So, this allows you to kind of track those things over time. So, we're going to do that. So, I'm going to go here to Lovable, and this is the last pass that we're going to do today. All right. Now I want to finalize the system and turn it into a complete product. Create a structured report that includes the input summary, themes, root causes, all actions with their alternatives, the selected Kaizen action, trade-offs, risks, and a short evidence summary. Add a button to export the report as a clean, well-formatted PDF. If direct PDF generation is difficult, ensure the report layout works well for print to PDF. Next, add a simple confidence scoring system for each action based on evidence strength, consistency signals, and assumption risk. Show an overall confidence level and allow details to be expanded. Then add impact versus effort for each action using low, medium, and high values, and display a simple combined label like high impact, low effort. When the user selects the Kaizen action, show its confidence, impact versus effort, and require a short explanation for why it was chosen. Finally, complete the action tracker screen so selected Kaizen actions are stored across sprints. Each tracked item should include status, outcome notes, and an effectiveness rating. Allow users to update these fields over time and keep the interface clean. Make advanced details expandable so the system remains easy to use. So it doesn't get all cluttered, right? So sometimes you got to tell it little guardrails like that, or else it's gonna do a lot of stuff. All right. Sometimes it will come up with errors. So far, we're good. I can see one issue here. So this menu here right now is not being hidden, and I'm not previewing it yet in mobile, but sometimes this is actually a common problem in Lovable is that it will keep this menu visible, and then on mobile it hides all of this screen. So you have to go in and tell it to fix it and make it collapsible. Um, so that's some things. Actually, I do have like a pass that I run at the end of every Lovable build, and it's a generic pass. And basically what it does is it goes through and it verifies all of the screen flows and it makes sure all of the buttons are working. It fixes any sort of UI problems like this that are very common with Lovable. So it's like I said, it's a generic task that I have that I actually put through at the end of any build I do to improve the UI. Any other questions right now?
Oh, what's Wally? Show us Wally.
Oh, Wally. All right. Um, I think, can you see my monitor? Can you see this
Yeah,
Google? Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfectly.
All right. Yes.
You know what's odd? If something's free, people just
Well, we
can't
got a
resist
little
it.
commercial here,
Right?
but
Is that big?
okay. All right. So see these screens they have? You
Ah,
remember that? They're all looking at screens, talking to each
I
other.
know this.
They
I
can't
know this.
walk
I didn't know it was called
anymore.
Wally, but yeah, I know this now.
Do you remember that now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So like that's totally every time somebody talks about the glasses and how we're all into our phone like this, I just see that scene every time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's oh,
Good or bad, that's where we're headed, right?
it's a lot of bad.
A lot of bad.
It's only gonna get viciously worse.
Yeah.
But no, yeah. I saw some things in the tech shows in when I was living in Asia for like 2 years. Like they have like it's ugh. Ugh. It's going to
Listen,
be a lot of like they don't want any they love the word friction in tech, both in the US and in Asia. They love this term like this frictionless experience where it's just like you need that attention of yours needs to be always just like dominated, like cutting the layers, cutting the layers. Uh, I still remember the time when I had to go home, log into a physical computer, and check my Facebook to see who messaged me. Like
I still remember when it cost $100 for 20 minutes on a phone and it was like a big brick and it was just a tiny little black and white screen, cell phone. That shows you how old I am.
I still
Like
remember
like $100 for like 20 voice minutes.
uh, you remember the 56K modem, and they
Oh,
would
yep.
send,
Oh,
send
the
you
bulletin
yeah
board system, the BBS system.
yeah, and then
Yep.
they'd send you the American Online 56K floppy disk. You install it in your computer.
Oh, even before that, the BBS systems, that's how I met my first boyfriend. So there. Oh, goodness.
Oh, way back.
Yeah, yeah, things have changed a lot.
That is like Sleepless in Seattle way back. Uh, didn't expect
Oh,
to be caught
yeah.
up this hard, but what, 2020, $20, 20 minutes per month and free calls on Sundays. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Uh,
I think it's almost done. So we're doing good for the time. It's right around 7. So I hope that everybody could stick around for another 5 minutes or so so it can just finish this build and I can kind of show you it, in action. I did actually build this out separate earlier, just in case something happens, internet problems. You never know what's going to happen, right? So I do have, another a build for it, but hopefully you guys will find it useful, for managing feedback and everything. There's lots of things you could do with it, even if you're not using it as a sprint, even if you're just a company, you can, capture, small company, you can capture, customer suggestions into it, and then you can cluster them. And, if you have clusters that a lot of customers are saying the same thing, you can address that. And I'm talking about even for small businesses, they could use something like this to help them out. Yeah. It's also good if you have a team and you're working with people that are very difficult to work with. I'm sure you guys dealt with like dealing with difficult people, that their suggestion is always the one that needs to get taken. It sort of removes that from the situation.
Uh,
So, you know what I mean? So everyone can see the clusters. You have, 5 issues in this large cluster. The loud person wants decision B over here that has one thing in the cluster. It's not a cluster, it's just a one issue. So it's easier for the team to override that very loud person. Um, when you have more neutral evidence in front of you as well. It kind of takes some of that emotional safety, where people find it difficult to work with people who are argumentative or things like that. Sometimes you have people on your team like that, and it really helps support those people and give them, more safety in making their suggestions and being sure that they're heard, you know. Okay. All right. So, it should be all set here. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this in the full screen mode here. All right, so far, here's what we have. And I do have, some sample data is in here. This is my dashboard. I'm going to go ahead to the input area here. And I think I might still have some on yeah. So I just had some on my clipboard. So this floating thing is in the way here. Um, let's move it up there, maybe. All right. So I had some on my clipboard that are just some sample things, feedback items that are commonly things that happen to show up in sprints. And I actually, in the instructions, had it give me some details to kind of instruct people while they're using it, here. I'm going to go ahead and continue clustering. So it's going to go ahead and take these input items. Okay. Run the clustering. Let's hope it works. All right. So far it's working. Um, it says the coverage is 80% of the items. So it basically means that 20% of the items didn't have a cluster that they went into. So that's how you see the amount of the comments that your cluster is covered. So that's kind of set up for that there. This is structured items. So now we're going to go down here and it shows me the clusters. So incomplete sprint planning is one of them. These are a bunch of items that it clustered together there. Progress hampered by external factors, unplanned interruptions, etc. So it's kind of chose, I think, how many do we get? 1, 2, 3. We ended up with 3 clusters. So actually it says 4, but I'm going to go ahead and continue to the actions here. I'm going to click generate actions. It's using AI to do this. And, it's just using general content from obviously whatever AI, LLM it's accessing right now. I have mine set up to just use ChatGPT or whatever it wants to in the lovable build. You can limit these sort of things. These are things that you can add to the build. So for example, if I don't want it to just pick up information from the general web, you can preload with, specific information that's going to pull content from, such as if you have the scrum.org guide downloaded, so you can kind of do that and kind of make sure that it pulls from those for suggestions. You can kind of give it additional guardrails. But, for general purposes, you're not going to need to do that anyways. So now it's telling me, okay, so it's generated actions here. Um, One of them, the incomplete sprint planning is the main one. It says impact high, effort medium. I want something that's high impact, low effort. No, there is nothing, but that's what I would pick first if there was one on here. So actually, I'm just going to go ahead and pick this original one, but it does have everything here I asked it to have. Um, it this one here, expected impact, high, effort, medium, and the overall confidence level. That's the confidence that the evidence strength is high. You can see here, I did ask it to expand things when I needed more detail. So it's telling me why its confidence is high. I have a lot of evidence. It's fairly consistent across statements by participants, hypothetical participants here. The assumption risk, that means that it's probably not based on, like the medium risk, it's probably not based on anything that's a very high risk assumption that's going to cause a lot of problems. And stated confidence level of, I think probably of the participant, how confident they are of that being an issue. The trade-offs, I said you have to mention trade-offs. So, so it did do that. It gave me guardrails, the failure guides here that if it does any of these things, it's a fail. So, for example, if I'm going to go ahead and use this as my primary action, target this, enhance sprint planning with clearly defined story criteria. So I'm going to revamp sprint planning to include a mandatory review of story completeness, ensuring acceptance criteria are clear, complexity is acknowledged, and stories are appropriately sized before sprint commitment. So it fails, for example, if product owners do not provide sufficient detail for stories prior to planning, or if team members feel rushed and skip through the review during planning. So it does give you failure modes. We got to make sure you avoid those. And then it gives evidence of why this particular action. So it gives, I've instructed it to give, that evidence. So it has these four feedback items that were related in that one affinity cluster. It go ahead and it states the cluster here. It sort of pulled out from that cluster what the root cause likely is and the reasoning for those specific actions that it suggested. I'm going to go ahead and select this so we can move on to the next item. Select this Kaizen and just going to take a look down there. I'm going to select this. And this is one of the things that you have to input manually. So you have to say why you chose this. And I'm just going to put in here high impact, medium effort, because I wanted to pick something that was the most efficient for the time that it required and it's high confidence. So you can add anything here, but this allows you to go back and track your decisions so you can see why you picked a certain thing to work on. I'm going to go ahead and generate this report and save it to the tracker. And it should allow me to export to a PDF here. So I can go ahead and export this if I need it for records, if you need to distribute to the team or management. So it actually has, can save to PDF or print it here. So, so yeah, so it's sort of should be a full system here. Any other questions? No questions? No,
Yeah,
nothing?
we're good. We answered all the
All right.
questions.
Oh, okay. I hope that at least some of this was helpful for you guys watching. And I really want to, I really hope that it helps your team to work better together. Like at least if you got something out of it to make your team work better together, that's all I'm hoping for.
We
Again, I am gonna, follow up with an email. I'm gonna provide those specific prompts to everyone, and that way you can use this and modify it, to help your own teams to work better and more efficiently together. All right.
It was an awesome presentation. It was definitely helpful.
Okay, good.
Um, we gotta also be real. Like, there's like Instagram versus reality. I mean, we teach this stuff and we don't even always adhere to it ourselves.
I know.
So like so
I know.
yeah, I think like not to be harsh to anybody, but I think theoretically there's like there is a standard practice, but I think unless you're operating like one of those German or Swedish companies where they're just very rigidly focused, it's kind of hard, especially when like things happen and you're putting out fires throughout the week, and then like yeah, 10 days later you're like, oh yeah, we had this thing called the roadmap.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping this, because if people have to do this all manually, it's never going to get done. That's part of the
Oh,
problem.
100%.
So at least this way, all you have to do is, if especially if you get everyone to give you emails or something that you can accumulate all together, all you
Uh-huh.
have to do is load all that stuff into the input area, and then most of it should be automatic for you, kind of help reduce that cognitive load. So you can just pick something and then it just automatically add it to the sprint. So it's just something that on your list to do for the next sprint. So it's kind of just intended for that workflow, but yeah. Anyways. All right. Thanks everyone. Have a great
Thank
night.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you everybody here. Talk to y'all later.